Yo, what is up, guys? Del Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. It's time for some of these middleweights, super middleweights, even light heavyweights to stop really thinking about Canelo and actually start getting their careers back on track. We've heard recently that the Zone no longer see Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith as viable options for Canelo Alvarez. Now that is the case, now we know that, there's no reason why Eddie Hearn should not make Callum Smith versus Billy Joe Saunders. First and foremost, it's a great fight, obviously. It's a battle between two unbeaten British fighters, two world champions, a unification fight. This is a great fight at 168. There's no reason now why these guys should be treading water, fighting absolute nobodies, waiting around to get blessed by Canelo. You know, there's no reason at all now to wait around. They need to actually forge their own careers, build their resumes, and go their own way until a Canelo fight is realistic. And that involves fighting the best. These two fighting each other would mark that, like I said, a battle between two unbeaten British world champions, a unification fight. It's a great fight that needs to happen. Obviously, we may need to wait a couple of months until some sort of crowd is back. I get that. But, you know, when that happens, this fight needs to be made ASAP as far as I'm concerned. I mean, how long's Billy Joe now been with Matchroom? Was it last summer? And there has been no realistic propositions of this fight actually getting made even before the whole Canelo saga with Billy Joe and Callum Smith. These guys weren't on a collision course then. Why is that? These guys should be fighting ASAP. You know, the 168-pound division in Britain has a rich heritage from the likes of Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn, Michael Watson, to obviously guys like George Groves, Kyle Froch, James DeGale, Robin Reed. The UK, you know, the 168-pound division has been a premier division in the UK, which has delivered some great fights. These guys need to fight each other to really cement themselves as the number one in the UK, you know, become a unified champion, and then maybe after that, you will be in a better position to get a fight with Canelo. As far as I'm concerned, you know, it looks like these guys are being kept around fighting tune-ups to really, you know, just be waiting around for Canelo in hope he calls. That's not good enough. These guys need to fight each other. And the same goes for a lot of these guys who are on the Zone at 160 and 168. You know, these guys have Golovkin, they've got Andrade, you know, they've got Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs. It feels like none of these guys are fighting each other. You know, it feels like a lot of these guys are hanging around in hope they get a Canelo fight. And in the meantime, they're not really willing to take a risk, you know, to jeopardise their value in the current market. They don't want to take a loss to rule themselves out of a Canelo fight, when in reality, if they fought each other, you know, if somebody picks up a really good win, they're going to be in a much better position to get that fight. You know, I mean, why is Gennady Golovkin versus Demetrius Andrade not happening? You know, why is it not happening? Why is Callum Smith versus Billy Joe Saunders not happening? I mean, it's crazy, it really is. There's no reason not to make this fight next between Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. Again, I understand if they want to wait till some sort of crowds are back, I get that, that's fine. But, you know, this fight makes a hell of a lot of sense. In reality, this fight should have happened a long time ago. But both of these guys are so fucking fixated on Canelo, they're basically doing nothing in the meantime. I mean, look at Callum Smith, for Christ's sake. Back at the, you know, end of last year, he fought John Ryder. Controversial decision. I know the pandemic hit, but reality is, he should have been looking at rematching John Ryder straight away after that fight, because he would have seen the backlash on that fight. To many people, he lost that fight, including myself. But, you know, he is so desperate to get that fight with Canelo, he wasn't even willing to rematch John Ryder. So, are we really going to get this Billy Joe Saunders versus Callum Smith fight anytime soon? Probably not. You know, Billy's going to fight a cab driver. Callum's going to do the same thing. Maybe he'll fight a middleweight again, like Hassan and Dam. It's not good enough. These guys need to forget about Canelo right now, forge their own legacy, and start by fighting each other. I mean, what? These guys between them they've got like a handful of good wins between them. Not good enough, man. Not good enough. They're good fighters. I think they are, elite guys at 168, but they need to act like it now. I'm tired of these guys waiting around. Callum's been waiting around since George Groves. Billy Joe's been waiting around essentially since David Lemieux. These guys have done nothing in a long fucking time. Time for these guys to step up and actually deliver something to the fans. I know Billy Joe has a lot of fans out there and they've taken issues with some of my videos, but is Billy Joe fighting some fucking unknown Argentinian good enough right now? It's not. It's not good enough, man. These guys need to fight each other ASAP. It's as simple as that. Be a great fight stylistically, unification fight, unbeaten British fighters. It'll be great for the sport of boxing in the UK. People would get excited, But for whatever reason, it feels like getting one of these fights is like getting blood from a fucking stone. It just seems so unlikely right now. And even before the pandemic, it seemed unlikely that these guys were going to fight. So let's not use that as an excuse right now. These guys weren't on a collision course before pandemic. So come on now. We need to force these fucking promoters and actually make our voices heard on some of these fights. These are the sort of domestic fights in the UK that we need. Fights like Billy Joe versus Callum Smith. Fights like Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois, Callum Johnson versus Joshua Buatsi, the winner of that fight fighting Anthony Yard. These are the sort of fights we need in the UK, and in my opinion, in the last couple of years, in terms of grassroots domestic boxing in the UK, the standard has really, really gone down. We're not getting enough of these sort of fights. It feels like a lot of these guys are being shipped out to America to fight on American cards, and we're really missing out on some of the premier, domestic UK clashes. I mean, look at what we've missed out on in recent years, man. Obviously, most notable, Kell Brook versus Amir Khan. Even to a lesser extent, Terry Flanagan versus Anthony Crolla, when both guys were champions. That would have been a big fight in Manchester, but we never got it. I mean, these are the sort of fights that really keep British boxing alive. Joshua, Tyson Fury, these guys will bring the casuals in, but these big domestic fights are really the lifeblood of the sport in the UK. They always have been. And the more diluted the quality gets in the domestic scene in the UK, the worse it's going to be, man. I'm just getting really frustrated with the scene out here. I see people in America always say, oh, the UK scene's buzzing right now. I mean, is it really? I think the bubble in the UK is going to burst very soon. Yeah, it's buzzing when we're talking about Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, even Dillian Whyte. When those guys fight, it's a relatively big occasion. Even Dillian Whyte, he was drawing like 300,000 pay-per-view buys against Povetkin. So when these guys fight, yeah, it is a big occasion. But take those guys out of the equation, how healthy is the UK scene right now? I mean, we rarely get world title fights on regular Sky Sports. We rarely get it on regular BT Sports. How strong is the scene over here, really? We've got a few ticket sellers in local areas, but how strong is the scene, really? Once Tyson Fury, Joshua leave. I'm not entirely convinced. I'm really not. And, the fact these sort of fights between Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders aren't being made is further detriment to the UK sports popularity, as far as I'm concerned. So, this fight needs to happen ASAP. It's as simple as that. Peace.